Hello, everyone, and welcome back into the Fantasy Football Universe. This is Aaron St. Denis. Find me on Twitter at FFMadScientist. Joined today by Jeremy Shulman at FF_Rebel. But we're not going to listen to him today because his opinion. Today, Jeremy did what? He wrote his first Fantasy Pros article, proud of you. And what was the theme of that? How you should buy back in on Calvin Ridley.
2024.
No, Jeremy, how do we mute Jeremy? We're not doing this. Not doing this again. So from now on, I'm just going to leave Jeremy on mute today. He's on Calvin Ridley timeout.
Listen, I could wax poetic about the Matt Harmon's reception perception charts that just dropped on Ridley. I will spare everybody's time.
Thank you. All right. And on that lovely note, let's get into the 2024 exclusive rookie sneak peek for Washington running back Dillon Johnson, who did not have a great combine. He was one of the more disappointing guys. Yeah. Running back from Greensville, Mississippi. That's Mississippi, right?
Yes, sir.
What's Massachusetts? MA?
Yep. And Missouri is MI.
So what's Maryland? MY?
Well, what's Michigan? Michigan's MI.
Michigan's MI.
What is Missouri?
Missouri's MO.
Oh, yeah.
You're from the States, aren't you?
I'm from the States. I haven't lived there in a while, but yeah.
Well, I'm Canadian. Anyways, he's from somewhere. Johnson was a 3-star recruit and eventually, Mississippi State. I guess that answers that question.
There it is.
I walked on at Mississippi State because I can read. Johnson began his collegiate career at Mississippi State, where he appeared in 11 games as a freshman for... That should not say the Huskies. You'd never know that I wrote this one. If you want to go see the full write-up, though, head over to the fantasyfootballuniverse.com where I can pretend that I actually wrote this and I remember what I did. It's been a busy combine weekend and I've completely wiped my brain of everything. So he did not start for the Huskies. He started for Mississippi State as a freshman. Recorded only 225 rushing yards, 4 touchdowns, but chipped in 36 catches for 157 yards. Sophomore season of 2021 saw him double the majority of his freshman stats in 13 appearances. Rushing total rose to 485 yards, 4 touchdowns, while his reception total skyrocketed to 65 for 422 yards and 1 TD. He produced a similar level in the 2022 junior season. In 11 appearances, he rushed for 488 yards and 3 touchdowns, adding in 48 receptions for 285. After 2022, he transferred to Washington, where he exploded for a career year because those first 3 years of stats probably weren't enough to get him on the draft boards, but we're talking about him. So what happened in that senior year at Washington? 1,195 rushing yards and a whopping 16 touchdowns. Yikes. His receiving totals in that year were the worst of his career, but largely due to his heavy usage in the run game. He didn't need to be a pass catching back because they ran him into the ground. What did you notice here? What do you think of Dillon Johnson?
Yeah, he also didn't need to be a pass catcher because they have 3 really good ones. One amazing one in Roma Dunze. So really, Johnson was the inside runner, the banger with the football, and those 16 touchdowns because that offense was moving it so well through the passing game, and because that line was so good. I mean, Penix had a ton of time. They moved the ball. Obviously, they made it to the national championship game and dominated most college teams. So for me, Johnson is a good inside runner, but as we saw in the combine, unfortunately, not much else.
Yeah, it was kind of his 2 different teams here, colleges, kind of brought unique skill sets here where I had a little bit more hope for him. The combine kind of crushed it. Like, as a senior, he showed he can be an elite rusher, tons of yards, tons of touchdowns. And in the 3 years at Mississippi State, he showed he can do it all. He can be that satellite third down pass catching back. He never did it all in one season. But I think it shows he has the upside. The combine, not impressive for me. And that kind of killed it. 6 foot, even, 218 pounds. He's 21.8 years old, a senior. Oh, another one. He's a junior. I wrote senior because I never put 2 junior seasons, but technically a junior because COVID, my bad. Scouting report. His strengths Possesses incredible size and strength for a running back, is extremely versatile, and is above average as both a runner and a receiver. Has excellent ability to break tackles and fight through multiple defenders and crowded lines. Is an excellent route runner for a running back, and his skill set should transition to the next level. Sorry, I got distracted. I think Jesse's trying to join us and couldn't figure out which one. I'm going to just, what stood out to you while I tell him what room we're in?
Sure. No, for me, it was like I mentioned earlier, that inside running ability. You mentioned here that he's pretty good at breaking tackles. He's going to fall forward and get those extra yards. He plays a bit bigger than his frame. And unfortunately, we now know that he's not a hyper athletic back, but he doesn't necessarily need to be if he's in as good a situation as he was. So he was always finding a little bit of wiggle in between the tackles and able to fall forward and get the necessary yards.
Yeah, I'm not sure whether he profiles as a rushing running back or a pass catching one or both. I don't know. It's such a weird trajectory where you see someone who only caught passes like Dylan Lobby, and then you see someone who was only a rusher. It's like theoretically he can do both things well, but he's never had to do both things well. So I wonder if he can do both, or if an increase in one is going to lead to a decrease in the other. And there we go. He found his way in. 1 sec. Let me switch the graphic around to add you in.
Hey, what up?
How's it going?
Good. We are mid Dillon Johnson. Why don't you give us your thoughts about his biggest strength?
Well, you would think it would be the pass catching, right? Like you think that would be the skill he has, but it's him as a rusher. I think his pass catching is pretty fraudulent, to tell you the truth. It had more to do with that scheme, the old pirate they had back in the day, Mississippi State with Mike Leach. So I think he's a talented rusher. I do worry about overall his ability to be an explosive rusher. But yeah, he can read well. He can do certain things. I think he brings a different dimension to the table. And when he came to Washington, he increased that rushing game, by far was the best rusher they had on the table. So I think that's where he kind of stands. And it's basically your classic downhill rusher, you'd say, where he gets in, he hits the hole, and he knows where he's going. So if you're looking from that first standpoint, I think that's his biggest strength to go to the NFL level.
Quick question for both of you. How do we feel about that 31.5-inch vertical?
Not good.
I mean, that was what I was testing back at high school. So
Exactly.
If you're looking at this guy's running 31, and then you go, Dillon Johnson do the same thing. It's not so great. It's not great.
Yeah.
The combine told us he's very much kind of the plotter type of back.
I think Jesse nailed it right on the head. That's the kind of expert analysis you get here on the Fantasy Football Universe, especially when you jump in mid Johnson.
Yes, sir.
Get to his weaknesses here. He struggles with pass protection and will be a liability in blocking, to say the least. Not elite in space and lacks the elusiveness to be a home run hitter. Often misjudges his blocks and hits the wrong holes. His vision is a major concern. Lacks any high level elusiveness or explosiveness, because I'm a child, and is an early down hammer. That is what he's suited for. So he's kind of bland. He can catch a pass. He can run straight up the middle. He doesn't do a whole lot else. You're not going to have elite speed. He definitely doesn't have elite jumping. It's just all over. I think this guy's kind of a plotter. What do you guys think?
Yeah. Well, just one thing I want to bring up here. Jesse mentioned earlier about you would think based on his earlier career stats at Mississippi State that he's a pass catcher. He ran those pass catching drills at the combine and looked awful. I mean, it may have been the worst day of his entire career at the combine, but he was falling down. Balls were hitting him in the hands and just bouncing off. He looked slow. He was not coming out of his cuts. It was a disaster for him in terms of the combine all around, as we know. But even more so in those drills when you're going right after Dylan Lobby and right before it wasn't Ray Marshawn Lloyd, who looked great, Trey Benson, who looked great in those drills for, and improved their stock a bit. So yeah, for me, the pass catching, I don't know how he caught that many balls at Mississippi State, but I don't know if he's going to be doing much of that at the next level.
There was nobody else to throw the ball to.
You guys remember Max Borghi, the guy we were talking about last year? another guy in the Mike Leach scheme who's just a target magnet. So I think it's more scheme related than anything else.
Yeah.
Like these guys can thrive in that situation, but
because it was
it's a
gone
scheme.
in Washington. Jeremy brought up a great point. There was Adunze, McMillan, and Polk, so they didn't need to, but it like you think he would have gotten a little, and it dried right up. So
yeah, he's a hammerback. Like if you have him on the field, you want him to actually just punish defenders, and he can do that well for you. Like the skill set's not really there to be a capable pass catcher to the next level, unfortunately.
No, it's not. All right, let's get down into where we think he's going. Round 5. This was written last week before the combine. It is no longer round 5. I think I will be updating this one. This is later, round 6 or 7 for me. I don't mind the Chargers. That's the one I listed. I also think he could be a New England Patriot. This seems like Ramondre Stevenson 2.0. I don't think Ramondre is anything special either. What do you guys think? Where do you see him going?
I mean, if I think Ramondre is high praise, he's not Ramondre.
I didn't mean it as high praise, I can assure you.
Yeah, I think if it's Ramondre without the pass catching ability, so you're looking at a guy, and he's not as big as Ramondre either, too, because Ramondre is a freaking tank. Yeah, I think you want him to go to a place where they need a guy who can do the early down work and just wear a defense out. He can grind it out. I mean, if you give him 20 carries, he can get you 100 yards, but realistically, I don't think he's really going to be getting 20 carries in the NFL.
Yeah. I mean, to me, he feels like it might even be a good fit in Buffalo for him. The problem is Buffalo has had a lot of experiences with this type of back and this type of profile in the last couple of decades, and it's never worked out for them. So, yeah, I'm a little wary to put him there, but Buffalo kind of makes a lot of sense, especially if you're planning on giving James Cook the 1A role in that offense.
He goes to Buffalo, he will never score another touchdown. Ever.
Maybe.
Just Josh Allen will vulture because he's not going to break loose for 30-yard NFL touchdown runs. Yeah. He's going to need to be a goal line back, and they have Josh Allen for that. So it's just not happening. So,
yeah,
all right.
Just unfortunate.
This has been the sneak peek for Washington running back Dillon Johnson. If you want to see the full write-up, head over to fantasyfootballuniverse.com for Dillon Johnson or any of the other prospects, and check back tomorrow for the next in our sneak peek series. For Aaron, Jeremy, and Jesse, thank you all for tuning in to the Fantasy Football Universe. Take care. We'll see you next time.